They said she was too small for combat, but when everyone else was trapped at 20,000 feet with no way out, her size became the only thing standing between life and death. Maya Chen had been obsessed with flying since she could barely reach the kitchen counter. At age 5, she would stand on her tiptoes in her grandmother's backyard in Sacramento, arms stretched wide, spinning in circles until she collapsed in dizzy laughter. Her grandmother, Lynn, would watch from the porch swing, shaking her head with a knowing smile. "That child thinks she's going to sprout wings," Lynn would mutter in Mandarin, but her eyes sparkled with pride. Maya's fascination wasn't just with flying, it was with military aviation specifically. Her bedroom walls were covered with posters of F-22 Raptors, a C-130 gunships, and UH-60 Black Hawks. She could identify aircraft by their engine sounds alone, a skill that impressed and sometimes worried her parents. While other children played with dolls or video games, Maya constructed elaborate model airfields in the basement, complete with miniature hangars and runway lighting she'd rigged herself. Her inspiration came from an unexpected source. During a family visit to the Smithsonian when Maya was 7, she encountered Captain Sarah Storm Rodriguez, a decorated Air Force pilot, giving a presentation about women in combat aviation. Captain Rodriguez was petite, maybe 5'3" at most, but she commanded the room with stories of flying rescue missions in Afghanistan. Maya sat transfixed in the front row, absorbing every word about high-altitude extractions, precision flying in mountain terrain, and saving lives under impossible conditions. After the presentation, Maya approached Captain Rodriguez with the boldness only children possess. "I want to fly helicopters like you," she announced. Captain Rodriguez knelt to Maya's eye level, noting how the 7-year-old barely reached her shoulder. "What's your name, future pilot?" she asked. "Maya Chen." "Ma'am, and I'm going to save people from the sky." Captain Rodriguez smiled and handed Maya her business card. "Keep this, Maya. When you're old enough to join the Air Force, give me a call." That business card became Maya's most treasured possession. She laminated it and kept it in her school backpack, pulling it out whenever she felt discouraged or when other kids laughed at her aviation dreams. Throughout elementary school, Maya devoured every book about military aviation she could find. She memorized aircraft specifications, studied weather patterns, and even convinced her parents to let her take private flying lessons at a small airport outside Sacramento when she turned 12. The flying lessons revealed something extraordinary. Maya had an intuitive understanding of aircraft control that amazed her instructor, retired Army pilot, Chief Warrant Officer 4 James Hammer Morrison. While other student pilots struggled with basic maneuvers, Maya demonstrated natural spatial awareness and an almost supernatural ability to read wind patterns and air currents. "I've been teaching kids to fly for 20 years, Morrison told Maya's parents after her 10th lesson. "Your daughter doesn't just fly aircraft, she becomes part of them." Maya's small stature, which would later become such a controversial issue, actually enhanced her flying abilities during these early lessons. She fit perfectly in the cockpit of Morrison's aging Cessna 172, and her light weight meant the aircraft responded more sensitively to her control inputs. She could feel every subtle change in air pressure, every slight turbulence shift, in ways that larger pilots often missed. Morrison began incorporating increasingly challenging exercises into Maya's training, and she mastered each one with remarkable ease. High school brought more focused preparation. Maya joined the Junior ROTC program at Sacramento Military Academy, where she excelled in every category except one that would later haunt her: physical fitness standards designed for larger cadets. While she consistently scored perfect marks in academics, leadership exercises, and aviation theory, the standardized fitness tests proved challenging. Maya could run for miles without tiring, but her small frame made certain Strength-based exercises difficult to complete within the prescribed time limits. Colonel Patricia Iron Pat Williams, the JROTC commander, noticed Maya's unique combination of exceptional mental acuity and physical limitations. During one particularly frustrating fitness assessment, where Maya struggled to complete the required number of pull-ups, Colonel Williams pulled her aside. "Chun, I've been watching you for 2 years now. You have the best tactical mind I've seen in a cadet, and your understanding of aviation is graduate level. But the military has standards, and those standards exist for reasons." Maya felt her stomach drop, anticipating another conversation about her physical limitations. But Colonel Williams surprised her. "However," she continued, "I also know that the best soldiers aren't always the biggest soldiers. They're the smartest soldiers who know how to use every advantage they have." Colonel Williams became an informal mentor, helping Maya develop alternative training strategies that maximized her natural agility and precision while building functional strength in ways that complemented her body type. During her junior year, Maya discovered mountaineering through a school outdoor program. The activity seemed like an odd choice for someone who wanted to fly, but Maya found that rock climbing and high-altitude hiking developed exactly the kind of core strength and spatial awareness that her aviation dreams required. More importantly, her small size became an advantage. She could navigate narrow cliff passages and technical climbing routes that larger classmates couldn't attempt. Her climbing instructor, former Navy SEAL Marcus Spider Thompson, was the first person to explicitly point out how Maya's physical characteristics could be tactical advantages rather than limitations. "Size isn't about strength," Thompson explained during a particularly challenging climb at Lake Tahoe. "It's about efficiency. You can get into spaces others can't reach. You require less oxygen at altitude, and you can move through terrain without leaving the same signature that bigger people do. In the right situation, being small makes you invisible, and invisible can be more powerful than strong." Maya began incorporating Thompson's philosophy into all her training. She studied special operations tactics, focusing on missions where stealth and precision mattered more than brute force. She learned about high-altitude rescue operations, where small teams had to extract personnel from locations that larger aircraft couldn't access. She became fascinated by stories of pilots who had to make emergency landings in impossible terrain and then navigate their way to safety through sheer ingenuity. By her senior year, Maya had accumulated more flight hours than most college aviation students. Morrison had introduced her to helicopter piloting, and she displayed the same natural aptitude that had characterized her fixed-wing training. Her small hands were actually perfect for the delicate control inputs that helicopter flying required, and her spatial awareness allowed her to hover in tight spaces with remarkable precision. Morrison began taking her on volunteer search and rescue missions, where Maya learned to read terrain from the air and spot details that other observers missed. The search and rescue work became Maya's passion. She loved the problem-solving aspect of locating missing hikers in vast wilderness areas, and she discovered that her size allowed her to serve as a spotter in situations where weight limitations prevented larger observers from flying. During one memorable mission, Maya spotted an injured climber on a narrow ledge that had been invisible to previous search teams. Her ability to identify the precise location and communicate detailed positioning information to the rescue team resulted in a successful extraction that might not have been possible otherwise. Maya's reputation in the local aviation community grew steadily. Pilots and instructors began specifically requesting her as a spotter for difficult missions, knowing that her keen eyesight and spatial awareness made her exceptionally effective at locating targets from the air. She developed a systematic approach to aerial observation that impressed even experienced search and rescue coordinators. Her detailed mission reports became teaching examples for other volunteers. The business card from Captain Rodriguez remained in Maya's wallet throughout high school, growing worn from handling but never forgotten. Maya researched Captain Rodriguez's career extensively, learning about her combat missions, her innovations in helicopter rescue techniques, and her advocacy for expanding opportunities for women in military aviation. The more Maya learned, the more convinced she became that her own destiny lay in military service, specifically in aviation roles that combined flying skills with life-saving missions. During her final semester of high school, Maya made her decision. She would apply to the Air Force Academy with the goal of becoming a combat search and rescue pilot. She spent months preparing her application, gathering letters of recommendation from Morrison, Colonel Williams Thompson, and the local search and rescue coordinator. Her academic credentials were impeccable, her leadership experience extensive, and her flight hours impressive for someone her age. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. But one number haunted her throughout the application process: 512. Maya had inherited her grandmother's petite frame, and despite her athletic training and excellent physical condition, she remained significantly shorter than the published minimum height requirements for most military aviation positions. She tried not to think about it, focusing instead on her skills, her passion, and her proven ability to excel in aviation environments. The night before submitting her Air Force Academy application, Maya stood in her grandmother's backyard, looking up at the stars. Lynn joined her on the porch, offering a cup of jasmine tea. "You're worried about something," Lynn observed in her direct way. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "You know," Lynn continued, "when I was young in Taiwan, people said I was too small to run a business, too quiet to lead workers, too traditional to succeed in America. But small can go places big cannot reach. Quiet can hear things loud misses, and tradition can teach innovation new truths." Maya looked at her grandmother, seeing for the first time the steel beneath the gentle exterior. Lynn had built a successful import business from nothing, navigating cultural barriers and economic challenges that would have defeated many people twice her size. "Sometimes," Lynn said softly, "the world needs to learn what small can do. Maybe you are the one to teach them." The next morning, Maya submitted her Air Force Academy application with complete honesty about her height and weight. She included a personal statement explaining how her size had actually enhanced her aviation abilities and her effectiveness as a search and rescue observer. She wrote about her philosophy that the best pilots were those who could adapt to any situation, regardless of their physical characteristics. She concluded by stating her belief that the military needed diverse approaches to solving complex problems, and that her unique perspective could contribute to mission success in ways that hadn't been fully explored. Months later, the acceptance letter arrived. Maya had been admitted to the Air Force Academy's preparatory school, with the understanding that her progression to flight training would depend on meeting all physical requirements during her time as a cadet. It wasn't the unconditional acceptance she had hoped for, but it was an opportunity. Maya carefully placed Captain Rodriguez's business card in her academy preparation materials, knowing that her real test was just beginning. The summer before leaving for Colorado Springs, Maya intensified her training with Morrison and Thompson. She wanted to arrive at the academy in the best possible physical and mental condition, ready to prove that her size was an asset rather than a liability. Every day, she reminded herself of her grandmother's words about small going places that big could not reach. She had no idea how prophetic those words would prove to be. The United States Air Force Academy Preparatory School in Colorado Springs was a shock to Maya's system in ways she hadn't anticipated. The altitude alone -7,258 feet above sea level left many new cadets gasping during their first weeks of training. But Maya's years of high-altitude hiking and climbing with Marcus Thompson had prepared her cardiovascular system for the thin air. While her classmates struggled through basic conditioning runs, Maya found herself easily keeping pace with the fitness instructors. Cadet Maya Chen threw herself into every aspect of academy preparation with methodical intensity. Her academic performance was flawless from day one. Mathematics, physics, aeronautical engineering, meteorology, subjects that challenged even the brightest cadets seemed to come naturally to Maya. Her professors noted her unusual ability to visualize complex three-dimensional problems, a skill that translated directly from her years of reading terrain and weather patterns during search and rescue flights. The military history and tactics courses particularly fascinated Maya. She studied classic aviation battles and rescue operations with the dedication of a doctoral candidate, but she approached the material differently than her peers. While other cadets focused on the strategic decisions of commanders and the technical specifications of aircraft, Maya examined the human factors that determined mission success or failure. She wrote detailed analyses of operations where small teams or individual aircrew members had made decisive differences through unconventional thinking. Her tactical studies professor, Lieutenant Colonel Rebecca Rezer Martinez, was a former rescue pilot who had flown missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. During one class discussion about the 2005 Operation Red Wings rescue attempts, Maya offered an observation that stopped the classroom conversation. "Ma'am, in reading the after-action reports, it seems like the rescue attempts failed partly because the terrain required capabilities that standard aircraft and crews couldn't provide. What if the mission had used smaller aircraft with more agile pilots who could navigate tighter spaces?" Lieutenant Colonel Martinez studied Maya carefully. "Explain your thinking, Cadet Chen." Maya stood at attention and delivered a detailed analysis of how smaller helicopters with more precise maneuvering capabilities might have accessed landing zones that were impossible for larger aircraft. She had clearly spent hours researching the specific geographic challenges of the Hindu Kush mountains and had developed alternative tactical approaches that her classmates hadn't considered. After class, Lieutenant Colonel Martinez approached Maya privately. "That was graduate-level tactical analysis, Cadet. Where did you develop that kind of spatial reasoning?" Maya explained her background in search and rescue flying and her experience reading terrain from aircraft. Martinez nodded thoughtfully. "Keep developing that perspective, Chen. The Air Force needs pilots who can think outside conventional parameters." Physical training proved more challenging, but not in ways Maya had expected. The standardized fitness assessments were designed around average male body dimensions, and Maya had to develop creative strategies to meet the requirements. Pull-ups remained difficult, but she discovered that her excellent core strength from climbing allowed her to excel at other exercises that her larger classmates found challenging. Rope climbing, obstacle courses requiring precise balance, and endurance events all played to her strengths. Maya's roommate, Cadet Jennifer Tank Rodriguez, no relation to Captain Sarah Rodriguez, was a former college basketball player who stood nearly 6 feet tall. Tank initially viewed Maya with skepticism, wondering how someone so small had made it into the academy program. But Maya's work ethic and determination quickly earned Tank's respect. Tank began serving as Maya's training partner for exercises that required additional strength, while Maya helped Tank with the more technical aspects of their academic coursework. The partnership proved beneficial for both cadets. Tank's size and strength made her a natural fit for traditional military roles, but she struggled with the precise calculations required for navigation and weapon systems. Maya's ability to process complex mathematical relationships quickly made her an excellent tutor. In return, Tank provided the physical support Maya needed to meet strength-based fitness requirements. Their collaboration became a model for other cadet partnerships. Winter training in Colorado's mountains revealed another dimension of Maya's capabilities. The Academy's survival and evasion courses were designed to test cadets' ability to function in hostile environments with minimal equipment. Maya's mountaineering experience with Marcus Thompson proved invaluable. She could read weather patterns, identify safe shelter locations, and navigate through terrain that challenged much larger cadets. During one particularly demanding winter exercise, Maya's tactical team became separated from their instructors. During a blizzard, the team leader, a cadet from Texas who had never seen snow before joining the academy, began showing signs of panic as visibility dropped to near zero. Maya quietly took charge, using her understanding of mountain weather to guide the team to a natural shelter formation she had spotted before the storm intensified. While waiting for the blizzard to pass, Maya kept team morale up by sharing navigation techniques her grandmother Lynn had taught her about finding direction using natural landmarks. Her calm confidence in an environment that terrified some of her teammates impressed the instructors when they finally located the team 12 hours later. The exercise debrief noted Maya's exceptional situational awareness and natural leadership in adverse conditions. Spring brought flying training, the moment Maya had been anticipating since childhood. The Academy's initial flight program used T-6 Texan II trainers, single-engine aircraft designed to evaluate basic piloting aptitude. Maya's first instructor was Captain David Nomad Jackson, a former F-16 pilot who approached flight training with military precision and zero tolerance for mistakes. Maya's first flight evaluation exceeded every expectation. Her control inputs were so smooth and precise that Captain Jackson initially suspected the aircraft's control systems were malfunctioning. Maya's spatial awareness in 3 dimensions was unlike anything he had seen in 20 years of instruction. She could maintain precise formation flying positions while simultaneously monitoring instrument readings and radio communications. Her landings were consistently perfect, even in challenging crosswind conditions. "Chun, where did you learn to fly like this?" Captain Jackson asked after her 3rd lesson. Maya explained her background with Chief Warrant Officer Morrison and her search and rescue experience. Jackson nodded slowly. "Morrison trained you well. But what I'm seeing goes beyond training. You have an intuitive understanding of flight dynamics that most pilots never develop." As Maya progressed through increasingly complex flight exercises, her unique advantages became more apparent. Her small size meant she fit perfectly in the T-6's cockpit, with easy reach to all controls and instruments. Her light weight improved the aircraft's performance characteristics, allowing for more responsive control inputs. Most importantly, her years of reading terrain from aircraft gave her exceptional situational awareness that impressed every instructor who flew with her. Maya's flight performance reports consistently rated her in the top 5% of her class. Her aerobatic flying was particularly exceptional. She could execute complex maneuvers with precision that larger pilots couldn't match. Her understanding of aircraft systems was comprehensive, and her ability to diagnose mechanical issues during flight impressed the maintenance instructors. Captain Jackson began using Maya's flights as demonstration examples for other cadets. However, success in training couldn't eliminate the persistent concern about physical requirements. Maya knew that her progression to advanced flight training would eventually require meeting minimum height and weight standards that she might not achieve. The regulations existed for specific safety reasons: ejection seat parameters, cockpit visibility requirements, and emergency egress procedures were all designed around minimum physical dimensions. Maya decided to research the issue comprehensively. She spent hours in the Academy library studying the historical development of military aviation physical standards. She discovered that many requirements had been established decades earlier when aircraft design was different and when the pool of potential pilots was much more limited. Some requirements that had made sense for World War II-era aircraft might not be as relevant for modern systems. Her research led her to contemporary studies about pilot performance and physical characteristics. She found data suggesting that Smaller pilots often demonstrated superior fine motor control and spatial awareness, attributes that were increasingly important as aircraft systems became more sophisticated. She also discovered examples of allied militaries that had successfully employed pilots who wouldn't meet use physical standards. Maya compiled her research into a comprehensive report that she submitted to Lieutenant Colonel Martinez as an independent study project. The report examined the relationship between pilot physical characteristics and mission performance across various types of military aviation roles. Her conclusion was that physical standards should be mission-specific rather than universally applied, and that certain specialized roles might actually benefit from pilots with different physical profiles. Lieutenant Colonel Martinez was impressed by the thoroughness of Maya's research and the sophistication of her analysis. This is the kind of innovative thinking the Air Force needs, Chen. Have you considered submitting this for publication in the Air Force Academy's research journal? Maya hadn't considered that possibility, but Martinez encouraged her to develop the work further. The research project had an unexpected side effect. It connected Maya with other cadets and instructors who were interested in unconventional approaches to military problems. She began participating in informal discussion groups that examined how traditional military thinking might be limiting operational effectiveness. These conversations expanded Maya's perspective on how her own unique characteristics might contribute to mission success in ways that hadn't been fully explored. Maya's reputation for innovative thinking spread beyond the flight training program. Her tactical analysis papers were being shared among faculty members, and her research on pilot physical requirements was generating discussion at higher levels of academy leadership. She began receiving invitations to participate in advanced seminars typically reserved for senior cadets. During one such seminar on special operations aviation, Maya met Captain Lisa Ghost Park, a helicopter pilot who specialized in high-altitude rescue missions. Captain Park was also relatively small, about 5'4", and had faced similar challenges during her own training. "The key," Captain Park explained, "is demonstrating that your capabilities exceed any limitations. You need to become so good at what you do that no one can afford to exclude you." Captain Park became an informal mentor, sharing stories about missions where smaller pilots had advantages that their larger colleagues couldn't match. She described rescue operations in confined spaces where precise aircraft control was more important than physical strength. She explained how smaller pilots could often see details and navigate spaces that larger pilots missed. Most importantly, she emphasized that the military was slowly recognizing the value of diverse approaches to complex challenges. As Maya's first year at the academy concluded, her academic and flight performance had established her as one of the most promising cadets in her class. Her innovative thinking and research capabilities had impressed faculty members across multiple departments. Her leadership during challenging training exercises had earned respect from fellow cadets. But the question of physical requirements for advanced training remained unresolved. Maya spent the summer break working with Chief Warrant Officer Morrison on advanced helicopter training, building on the foundation Captain Park had suggested. Morrison had arranged for Maya to train with several different helicopter types, each presenting unique challenges that tested different aspects of her piloting skills. The variety of aircraft helped Maya understand how her physical characteristics affected performance in different operational contexts. The training revealed something remarkable. Maya's precision and spatial awareness were even more pronounced in helicopters than in fixed-wing aircraft. Her ability to hover in tight spaces and maintain precise position control was exceptional. Morrison began incorporating increasingly challenging exercises, including simulated rescue scenarios that required navigation through obstacles and confined landing areas. "Maya," Morrison said after a particularly demanding training session, "I've been flying helicopters for 35 years, and I've never seen anyone with your combination of precision and situational awareness. Whatever challenges you face with physical requirements, remember that your capabilities are extraordinary. The military needs pilots who can do what you do. As Maya prepared to return to the academy for her second year, she carried with her Morrison's confidence, Captain Park's mentorship, Lieutenant Colonel Martinez's encouragement, and her own growing understanding of how her unique characteristics could contribute to military aviation. She also carried the knowledge that her real test was approaching, the point where she would need to qualify for advanced flight training and operational assignments. The question that had haunted her since childhood remained unanswered: would the Air Force find a way to utilize her exceptional capabilities, or would physical requirements prevent her from reaching her full potential? Maya was determined to prove that the answer should be obvious to anyone who cared more about mission success than traditional standards. The notification arrived on a gray October morning during Maya's second year at the Air Force Academy. She had been expecting it for months, but seeing the official summons still made her stomach clench with nervous anticipation. Report to Building 2304, Room 150, at 1400 hours for advanced flight training physical evaluation. Maya stared at the paper, knowing that this moment would determine whether her dreams of military aviation would continue or end abruptly. She had spent the previous night reviewing every regulation, every exception clause, every precedent she could find regarding pilot physical requirements. The minimum height standard for most Air Force pilot positions was 5 feet 4 inches for women, with sitting height requirements that she knew would be even more challenging. At 5 feet 2 inches with proportionally shorter torso measurements, Maya faced standards that seemed designed specifically to exclude someone with her body type. Maya arrived at the medical evaluation facility 30 minutes early, using the extra time to review her carefully prepared documentation. She had assembled a comprehensive portfolio that included her flight performance records, instructor evaluations, medical fitness assessments, and research data about pilot performance metrics. She carried letters of recommendation from Captain Jackson, Lieutenant Colonel Martinez, and Chief Warrant Officer Morrison, each emphasizing her exceptional aviation capabilities. The waiting area was sterile and intimidating, filled with motivational posters about Air Force excellence and framed photographs of famous military aviators. Maya noticed that virtually every pilot depicted in the photographs was male and appeared to be of average or above average height. She forced herself to focus on her breathing exercises, the same techniques Marcus Thompson had taught her for maintaining calm during challenging climbs. Other cadets, waiting for their evaluations, chatted nervously among themselves, discussing their hopes for fighter pilot assignments or transport aviation careers. Maya remained quiet, mentally rehearsing the arguments she planned to present if given the opportunity. She had studied the medical rationale behind each physical requirement and prepared responses that demonstrated her understanding of the safety concerns while proposing alternative approaches. At precisely 1400 hours, a medical technician called Maya's name. She followed him through a maze of corridors to a clinical examination room where 3 officers waited behind a metal desk. Colonel Patricia Hawkins, the Chief of Aerospace Medicine, sat in the center with Maya's file open in front of her. To her left was Major Robert Sterling, the Advanced Flight Training Program Director. On the right sat Captain Amanda Torres, a flight surgeon who specialized in pilot medical certification. Maya stood at attention, fighting the urge to fidget as Colonel Hawkins reviewed her documentation without looking up. The silence stretched uncomfortably until the colonel finally raised her eyes to meet Maya's gaze. Cadet Chun, your academic and flight performance records are exceptional. Your instructors describe your piloting skills in terms I rarely see in evaluation reports. Captain Jackson specifically notes that your spatial awareness and aircraft control precision exceed most graduate-level pilots. Maya felt a momentary surge of hope, but Colonel Hawkins' expression remained neutral. However, the colonel continued, physical standards for military aviation exist for critical safety reasons. These requirements weren't established arbitrarily, they're based on decades of research, ACCID, ENT investigation data, and operational experience. Every regulation represents lessons learned, often at the cost of aircrew lives. Major Sterling leaned forward, consulting his own set of documents. Cadet Chen, the minimum height requirement for pilot training is 64 inches for women. Our measurements show you at 62 inches. The sitting height requirement is 34 to 40 inches. Your measurement is 32.5 inches. These aren't suggestions or guidelines. They're absolute requirements based on cockpit design, ejection seat parameters, and emergency egress capabilities. Maya had anticipated this moment and prepared her response carefully. Sir, I understand the safety rationale behind these standards. However, I believe my flight performance demonstrates that I can operate aircraft safely and effectively despite not meeting traditional measurements. I've prepared documentation showing how modern aircraft design and my specific skill set might allow for alternative approaches to these requirements. Captain Torres spoke for the first time, her voice clinical but not unkind. Cadet Chen, the ejection seat systems in our fighter aircraft are calibrated for specific weight and height ranges. If you're forced to eject, the seat's trajectory and parachute deployment timing could be compromised. That's not a theoretical concern. It's a life or death calculation. We can't compromise on safety parameters that could result in fatalities. Maya nodded respectfully. Ma'am, I've researched ejection seat technology extensively. I understand that current systems have specific parameters, but I've also found evidence that newer seat designs have broader operational ranges. Additionally, many of the missions I'm most interested in, search and rescue, special operations support, humanitarian assistance, primarily use aircraft that don't employ ejection seats. Colonel Hawkins raised an eyebrow. Are you suggesting we create specialized career tracks based on individual physical limitations? That would represent a fundamental change in how the Air Force approaches pilot training and assignment. Maya had spent months considering this exact question. Ma'am, I'm suggesting that mission effectiveness should be the primary criterion for pilot assignment. If my capabilities can contribute to mission success in specific aviation roles, then excluding me based on requirements designed for different roles might not serve the Air Force's best interests. I've documented several examples where smaller pilots have advantages in confined spaces, precision flying, and extended duration missions. Major Sterling consulted Maya's flight training records. Your performance metrics are indeed exceptional. Cadet Chen, but regulations exist at the service level, not the local level. We don't have authority to grant individual exceptions to congressionally mandated physical standards. These decisions are made at Pentagon levels based on service-wide policies. Maya felt her carefully constructed arguments crumbling, but she pressed forward. Sir, I'm not requesting special treatment. I'm requesting evaluation based on demonstrated performance rather than predicted limitations. My flight records show that I can operate aircraft safely and effectively. My academic performance demonstrates comprehensive understanding of aviation systems and safety protocols. If there are specific missions where my capabilities could contribute to Air Force objectives, shouldn't that be considered? Captain Torres reviewed Maya's medical file thoroughly. Your overall health and fitness metrics are excellent, Cadet. Chen, your cardiovascular condition, reaction times, and spatial processing abilities all exceed average ranges. The issue isn't your capability, it's standardization across the pilot community. We need consistent criteria that can be applied uniformly. Maya sensed an opening in Captain Torres' response. Ma'am, if my health and performance metrics exceed standards, doesn't that suggest the current physical requirements might not capture all relevant factors for pilot effectiveness? I've researched studies showing that smaller pilots often demonstrate superior fine motor control and sustained attention during long-duration flights. These capabilities might be valuable for specific mission types. Colonel Hawkins closed Maya's file with finality. Cadet Chen, your arguments are well-researched and professionally presented. Your passion for aviation is evident, and your performance records speak for themselves. However, current Air Force regulations don't provide flexibility for individual exceptions to pilot physical requirements. Without changes at policy levels that are beyond our authority, we cannot approve your progression to advanced flight training. The words hit Maya like a physical blow, but she maintained her military bearing. Years of preparation from her father, her grandmother's teachings about dignity, and her training at the academy had prepared her for this moment. She would not show weakness or disappointment in front of officers who had made their decision. Based on regulations rather than personal judgment, Maya stood straighter if that was possible. Sir, I understand your position and respect the regulatory framework you're required to follow. However, I would like to request information about alternative ways I might serve in aviation-related roles. My goal has always been to contribute to Air Force missions, and I'm willing to explore any path that allows me to use my skills in service of those objectives. Major Sterling appreciated Maya's professional response to disappointing news. There are several aviation-related career fields that don't require pilot certification. Cadet Chen, aircraft maintenance, air traffic control, flight planning, and aircrew positions all offer opportunities to work closely with aviation operations. Many of these roles provide essential support for the missions you've expressed interest in. Maya nodded, though the suggestion felt like a consolation prize. Sir, I would like to explore aircrew positions, particularly those involved in search and rescue or special operations support. I believe my flight experience and technical knowledge could be valuable in those roles. She paused, then added, I would also like to maintain my private pilot certification and continue developing my aviation skills through civilian channels. Colonel Hawkins looked at Maya with something approaching sympathy. That's a mature approach. Cadet Chen, many highly effective Air Force personnel serve in support roles that are essential to mission success. Your technical knowledge and flight background would be valuable assets in several career fields. We'll work with your academic advisors to identify opportunities that match your interests and capabilities. Captain Torres added, there's also the possibility that regulations could change in the future. Cadet Chen, the military is continuously reviewing its policies based on new technology, changing mission requirements, and evolving understanding of human performance. Maintaining your civilian pilot qualifications and continuing to excel in your Air Force career could position you for opportunities that don't exist today. Maya appreciated the encouragement, but she understood the reality. The door to her childhood dream of military pilot training had just closed definitively. The years of preparation, the exceptional performance records, the letters of recommendation, none of it had been enough to overcome 2 inches of height difference. She felt the weight of disappointment settling over her, but she also felt something else, determination to find another way to serve. Thank you for your time and consideration, Maya said formally. I would like to request assignment to whatever aviation-related position would best utilize my current qualifications while allowing me to continue contributing to Air Force objectives. She paused, then added with quiet conviction, I believe there are ways to serve effectively that don't require meeting traditional pilot requirements, and I'm committed to finding those opportunities. As Maya left the evaluation facility, she walked with the same straight posture she had maintained throughout the meeting. Other cadets in the hallway couldn't tell from her expression whether she had received good news or devastating disappointment. Maya had learned from her grandmother that showing defeat was a choice, and she chose not to make it. That evening, Maya sat in her dormitory room with the worn business card from Captain Sarah Rodriguez. She had carried it for over 10 years, through every challenge and milestone of her aviation journey. Now it represented a dream that would never be realized in the way she had imagined. But as Maya studied the card, she remembered Captain Rodriguez's words about saving people from the sky. Perhaps there were multiple ways to accomplish that mission. Maya opened her laptop and began researching Air Force career fields that combined aviation operations with life-saving missions. Flight engineer, loadmaster, pararescue support, special operations aircrew. Each role offered different opportunities to contribute to the mission she cared about most. She would find a way to serve from the sky, even if it wasn't as a pilot. The rejection had ended one chapter of Maya's story, but it had also opened possibilities she hadn't previously considered. Her exceptional aviation knowledge, technical skills, and proven performance under pressure would be valuable in many roles. The question now was how to channel her capabilities into a position where they could make the greatest impact. Maya fell asleep that night with her research still open on her laptop, dreaming of ways to prove that service and mission effectiveness mattered more than meeting arbitrary physical measurements. Maya spent 3 sleepless nights researching every aviation-related career field the Air Force offered before making her decision. The aircrew positions that interested her most, flight engineer, loadmaster, and aerial gunner, all required different physical standards, but none had the height restrictions that had eliminated her from pilot training. More importantly, these roles offered direct involvement in the life-saving missions that had originally drawn her to military aviation. Her academic advisor, Major Elizabeth Doc Harrison, reviewed Maya's options during their scheduled counseling session. Major Harrison had been following Maya's case since the physical evaluation, and she approached the conversation with both sympathy and practical guidance. "Chen, I know this isn't the path you originally planned, but aircrew positions offer significant opportunities for someone with your aviation background and technical expertise." Maya had prepared thoroughly for this meeting, just as she had for the physical evaluation. "Ma'am, I've researched the 1A2X1 career field, aircraft. Loadmaster. The missions include aeromedical evacuation, humanitarian aid delivery, and special operations support. These align closely with my original interest in search and rescue operations." She paused, then added, "I believe my flight experience and understanding of aircraft systems would be valuable in coordinating cargo and passenger operations." Major Harrison nodded approvingly. "The loadmaster career field would utilize your aviation knowledge effectively, and the training pipeline includes advanced flight engineer coursework. You'd essentially become an expert in aircraft systems and cargo operations." She consulted Maya's file. "Your academic performance and flight training background would make you an excellent candidate for that program." The assignment process moved quickly once Maya committed to the aircrew path. Within 2 weeks, she received orders to report to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas for basic aircrew training, followed by specialized loadmaster school at Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas. The training timeline would extend her time at the academy, but it offered the opportunity to begin serving in operational roles while completing her degree. Maya's fellow cadets reacted to her career change with mixed responses. Some expressed sympathy for her inability to pursue pilot training, treating her like someone who had suffered a significant setback. Others, particularly those who had struggled with the demanding academic requirements of flight training, seemed relieved that they wouldn't have to compete with Maya's exceptional performance. Tank Rodriguez, Maya's roommate, offered the most honest perspective. "Chen, you're going to be amazing at whatever you do. The Air Force is getting a better deal than they realize." Lieutenant Colonel Martinez called Maya to her office for a private conversation before Maya departed for aircrew training. "Chen, I've been thinking about your situation since the evaluation results. I want you to understand something important. This assignment isn't a consolation prize. Loadmasters are essential to virtually every Air Force mission that involves moving people or equipment. You'll have opportunities to make a real difference in ways that many pilots never experience. Maya appreciated the encouragement, but she remained focused on practical considerations. "Ma'am, I've been studying the Loadmaster training curriculum. The technical systems training appears comprehensive, and the mission variety seems extensive. I'm particularly interested in the aeromedical evacuation and special operations aspects of the career field." Lieutenant Colonel Martinez smiled knowingly. "Those missions will test every skill you've developed, Chen. Aeromedical evacuation requires precision, situational awareness, and the ability to make critical decisions under extreme pressure. Special operations missions demand innovation and adaptability. Your background has prepared you well for those challenges." The conversation planted seeds that would grow throughout Maya's subsequent training. Lieutenant Colonel Martinez had extensive experience in special operations aviation, and her subtle emphasis on innovation and adaptability suggested possibilities that standard career descriptions didn't capture. Maya filed away those hints for future consideration. Maya's departure from the academy felt anticlimactic after years of building toward pilot training. She packed her belongings methodically, including the worn business card from Captain Rodriguez and her collection of flight training materials. Her classmates were focused on their own upcoming assignments and training programs, creating an atmosphere of transition rather than farewell. The flight to Lackland Air Force Base provided Maya's first experience as a passenger rather than a student pilot in military aircraft. She found herself analyzing the aircraft systems and performance characteristics from her new perspective as future aircrew rather than aspiring pilot. The change in viewpoint was subtle but significant. She was learning to see aviation operations from inside the aircraft rather than from the cockpit. Basic aircrew training at Lackland proved less challenging than Maya had anticipated. The academic coursework covered familiar topics: aircraft systems, emergency procedures, and flight safety protocols. Her extensive flight training background made most of the material review rather than new learning. However, the survival and emergency training introduced entirely new dimensions to her aviation education. The survival training component included scenarios that Maya found both challenging and fascinating. Water survival exercises tested her ability to function in emergency situations while managing heavy equipment and assisting other personnel. Maya's small size initially seemed like a disadvantage during these exercises, but her climbing experience and superior cardiovascular fitness proved valuable when other trainees struggled with physical demands. Master Sergeant Robert "Tank" Williams, the chief survival instructor, noticed Maya's performance during a particularly demanding exercise involving aircraft emergency evacuation. While larger trainees struggled to maneuver through narrow escape hatches while wearing full survival gear, Maya navigated the obstacles with efficiency that impressed the instructional staff. "Chun, you move through confined spaces like you've been doing it your whole life. That's a valuable skill in emergency situations." Maya's response revealed her evolving perspective on her physical characteristics. "Sergeant, I've learned that size can be an advantage in the right circumstances. It's about understanding how to use your capabilities effectively rather than preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel." The water survival training included scenarios where teams had to assist injured personnel during emergency evacuations. Maya discovered that her technical knowledge combined with her agility made her exceptionally effective at rigging rescue equipment and coordinating complex extractions. Her ability to quickly assess situations and develop efficient solutions impressed instructors, who typically saw students struggle with multitasking under pressure. Physiological training introduced Maya to the effects of altitude and acceleration on human performance. The altitude chamber exercises revealed another unexpected advantage of her small stature. She required less oxygen than larger personnel, allowing her to function effectively at altitudes that challenged other trainees. The hypoxia training demonstrated her exceptional awareness of subtle changes in mental and physical performance. The acceleration training in the centrifuge showed similar patterns. Maya's compact build and excellent physical conditioning allowed her to tolerate G-forces that caused problems for some larger trainees. Her spatial awareness remained sharp even under acceleration stress that degraded other students' performance. The physiological training staff noted her exceptional tolerance for the physical stresses that aircrew members routinely encountered. Maya's academic performance at Lackland continued the pattern established at the academy. She scored at the top of her class in every category, demonstrating comprehensive understanding of aircraft systems, emergency procedures, and crew coordination protocols. Her instructors began using her test responses as examples for other students, and she was selected to serve as a student leader for incoming classes. The leadership role provided Maya with insights into the diverse backgrounds and motivations of her fellow aircrew trainees. Many had chosen aircrew careers as their first preference, drawn by the variety of missions and the hands-on nature of the work. Others, like Maya, had been redirected from other aviation careers due to various circumstances. She discovered that some of the most effective aircrew members were those who had overcome initial setbacks and developed broader perspectives on military service. Staff Sergeant Maria Ghost Gonzalez, one of the senior instructors, became an informal mentor during Maya's time at Lackland. Sergeant Gonzalez was a veteran loadmaster who had flown missions in Iraq, Afghanistan, and humanitarian operations worldwide. During one of their conversations, she shared perspectives that would influence Maya's approach to her new career. "Chen, I've been watching your performance, and I want you to understand something about aircrew operations. Pilots get the glory, but aircrew members often make the difference between mission success and mission failure. We're the ones who solve problems in real time, adapt to changing circumstances, and ensure that complex operations actually work." Sergeant Gonzalez paused thoughtfully. "Your aviation background gives you advantages that most loadmasters never develop. You understand flight dynamics, weather impacts, and aircraft systems at a level that will make you exceptionally effective." Maya absorbed this perspective eagerly. "Sergeant, I'm particularly interested in missions where technical knowledge and problem-solving abilities are critical. Search and rescue, aeromedical evacuation, and special operations all seem to require those capabilities." Sergeant Gonzalez nodded approvingly. "Those are exactly the missions where exceptional aircrew members distinguish themselves. Standard cargo hauling missions are important, but the complex operations are where you really prove your value. Keep that focus as you progress through your training." The conversation reinforced Maya's growing understanding that her career redirection might actually offer opportunities that pilot training wouldn't have provided. Aircrew members were involved in mission planning, equipment configuration, and real-time decision-making in ways that gave them direct impact on operational success. The work required technical expertise, situational awareness, and adaptability, all areas where Maya's background provided advantages. Maya's final evaluation at Lackland reflected her exceptional performance across all training categories. Her instructors recommended her for advanced training opportunities and noted her potential for leadership roles within the aircrew community. More importantly, they identified her as a candidate for specialized mission training that would maximize her unique combination of aviation knowledge and technical capabilities. The assignment to Little Rock Air Force Base for Loadmaster School represented the next phase of Maya's evolution from aspiring pilot to specialized aircrew member. The training would be more intensive and mission-focused, providing the specific skills needed for operational assignments. Maya approached the transition with excitement rather than resignation, recognizing that she was moving toward opportunities rather than away from disappointment. Her final night at Lackland, Maya reviewed the materials she had accumulated during basic aircrew training. Technical manuals, emergency procedure guides, and mission planning documents filled her study materials. The complexity and scope of loadmaster responsibilities had exceeded her initial expectations, revealing a career field that demanded continuous learning and adaptation. Maya also spent time reflecting on the personal growth she had experienced. Since leaving the academy, the pilot training rejection had forced her to reconsider her assumptions about military service and career success. She was learning that effectiveness mattered more than specific job titles, and that finding the right fit between personal capabilities and mission requirements was more important than pursuing predetermined paths. The business card from Captain Rodriguez remained in Maya's wallet, but its meaning had evolved. Rather than representing a specific career goal, it now symbolized the broader commitment to saving lives from the sky. Maya was beginning to understand that there were multiple ways to fulfill that commitment, and that her unique combination of skills might be more valuable in aircrew roles than she had initially realized. As Maya prepared for the next phase of her training, she carried forward the lessons learned from months of adapting to unexpected circumstances. Her physical characteristics, which had seemed like limitations in the context of pilot training, were proving to be advantages in other aspects of aviation operations. The question now was how to maximize those advantages in operational environments where they could make the greatest difference. Maya's arrival at Little Rock Air Force Base marked the beginning of the most technically demanding training she had ever encountered. The C-130 Hercules Loadmaster School occupied a sprawling complex of hangars, classrooms, and aircraft that operated around the clock. The distinctive sound of turboprop engines filled the air constantly as training flights departed and returned from missions across the southeastern United States. The Loadmaster training program was designed to transform aircrew trainees into experts in cargo operations, passenger management, and aircraft systems. Maya quickly discovered that the curriculum extended far beyond basic cargo loading procedures. Loadmasters needed to understand weight and balance calculations, hydraulic and electrical systems, emergency procedures for dozens of different scenarios, and the complex logistics of moving everything from humanitarian supplies to military equipment. Technical Sergeant David Cargo Murphy served as Maya's primary instructor for aircraft systems training. Sergeant Murphy was a 20-year veteran who had flown Loadmaster missions in every major conflict since the Gulf War. His approach to instruction was methodical and demanding, with zero tolerance for mistakes that could compromise aircraft safety or mission effectiveness. Maya's first aircraft systems examination revealed the depth of knowledge required for Loadmaster operations. The C-130 had multiple hydraulic systems, backup electrical configurations, and emergency procedures that required instant recall under pressure. Maya's aviation background from the academy provided a foundation, but the Loadmaster curriculum demanded understanding of systems from an entirely different perspective. Pilots need to know how to fly the aircraft, but Loadmasters need to know how to make the aircraft work, Sergeant Murphy explained during one particularly challenging systems lesson. When something goes wrong at 25,000 feet, the pilot is focused on keeping us airborne. The Loadmaster is responsible for everything else: cargo securement, passenger safety, emergency equipment, and backup systems operation. Maya absorbed this responsibility eagerly. Her study habits, developed through years of academic excellence, adapted quickly to the technical demands of Loadmaster training. She spent hours after regular instruction memorizing electrical schematics, hydraulic flow diagrams, and emergency checklists. Her dormitory room became filled with technical manuals, practice exams, and detailed notes, covering every system on the C-130 aircraft. The practical training component introduced Maya to the physical demands of loadmaster operations. Loading and securing cargo required understanding of tie-down procedures, weight distribution calculations, and equipment operation that demanded both technical knowledge and physical capability. Maya's small size initially concerned some instructors, but her rock climbing background had developed functional strength that proved adequate for most loadmaster tasks. Maya's approach to cargo loading procedures reflected her systematic personality and technical background. While other students learned procedures through repetition, Maya studied the engineering principles underlying each requirement. She understood why specific tie-down patterns were necessary, how weight distribution affected aircraft performance, and which equipment configurations provided optimal safety margins. Master Sergeant Lisa Precision Torres, the senior loadmaster instructor, noticed Maya's analytical approach during a complex cargo loading exercise. The scenario involved loading medical equipment for an aeromedical evacuation mission, with specific requirements for equipment accessibility and patient care considerations. Maya's solution demonstrated understanding of both technical requirements and mission priorities. Chen, most students focus on following procedures correctly. You're thinking about why the procedures exist and how to optimize them for mission effectiveness, Master Sergeant Torres observed. That kind of thinking will make you valuable in operational environments where standard procedures might not cover every situation. Maya's response revealed her evolving understanding of aircrew responsibilities. Sergeant, I've been studying mission reports from aeromedical evacuations and humanitarian operations. The most successful missions seem to involve aircrew members who can adapt procedures to meet unexpected requirements. I want to develop that kind of flexibility. The conversation led to Maya receiving additional training opportunities that weren't part of the standard curriculum. Master Sergeant Torres arranged for Maya to observe actual aeromedical evacuation missions at nearby medical facilities, providing exposure to the complex coordination required between aircrew, medical personnel, and ground support teams. Aeromedical training proved fascinating and challenging. Maya learned about medical equipment requirements, patient care considerations during flight, and the critical timing factors that made the difference between successful and unsuccessful medical evacuations. Her technical background helped her understand the aircraft modifications necessary for medical missions, while her attention to detail made her effective at managing the complex logistics involved. During one aeromedical training exercise, Maya demonstrated problem-solving abilities that impressed the medical flight crews. The scenario involved transporting a critically injured patient who required specific positioning and continuous monitoring during flight. Maya's solution integrated aircraft systems knowledge with medical requirements in ways that optimized both patient care and flight safety. The medical flight nurse, Captain Jennifer Doc Williams, commended Maya's approach after the exercise. Most loadmasters focus on the technical aspects of medical missions, equipment securement, aircraft configuration, and communication procedures. You're thinking about the mission from the patient's perspective and finding ways to improve outcomes. That's the kind of thinking that saves lives. Maya's interest in search and rescue operations led her to seek additional training in that specialized area. Little Rock Air Force Base served as a training center for combat search and rescue aircrew, and Maya arranged to observe ESSER training exercises during her off-duty time. The experience provided insights into missions that combined her interests in aviation, life-saving operations, and technical challenges. The CSAR training revealed mission complexities that standard loadmaster curriculum didn't address. Rescue operations required coordination between multiple aircraft, ground teams, and specialized equipment under time-critical conditions. Maya studied the communication protocols, navigation requirements, and equipment configurations that made successful rescues possible. Master Sergeant Robert Rescue Anderson, a veteran CSAR loadmaster, became another informal mentor during Maya's specialized training. Sergeant Anderson had participated in dozens of combat and humanitarian rescue missions, and his perspectives on aircrew effectiveness shaped Maya's understanding of her future career possibilities. Shun, successful rescue operations depend on aircrew members who can think 3 steps ahead and adapt to changing circumstances, Sergeant Anderson explained during one of their discussions. Your technical background and problem-solving abilities would be valuable in rescue environments where standard procedures don't always apply. Maya's academic performance continued to excel throughout the technical training phases. Her test scores consistently ranked at the top of her class, and her practical exercise performance demonstrated comprehensive understanding of complex procedures. However, her real growth occurred in areas that weren't formally evaluated. Her ability to synthesize information from multiple sources and develop innovative solutions to operational challenges, the survival training component of Loadmaster. School introduced scenarios that tested Maya's ability to function effectively in emergency situations. Unlike the basic survival training at Lackland, these exercises were designed specifically for aircrew members who might need to coordinate rescue operations or manage passenger evacuations under extreme conditions. Maya's performance during survival exercises revealed advantages that her physical characteristics provided in emergency situations. Her small size allowed her to navigate through damaged aircraft structures that larger personnel couldn't access. Her climbing experience made her effective at rigging emergency equipment and establishing communication systems in challenging terrain. During one particularly demanding survival exercise, Maya's team was required to establish an emergency landing zone and coordinate rescue operations for simulated crash survivors. Maya's aviation knowledge helped her select optimal locations based on wind patterns and terrain features, while her technical skills enabled her to establish reliable communication with rescue aircraft. The exercise instructors noted Maya's ability to maintain situational awareness and coordinate complex activities under stress. Her performance demonstrated that survival training had developed her confidence and leadership capabilities in ways that would prove valuable in operational environments. Maya's flight training on the C-130 aircraft provided her first experience as an operational aircrew member rather than a student pilot. The perspective shift was significant. Instead of controlling the aircraft, she was managing everything else that happened during flight. The responsibility was enormous and required constant attention to multiple systems and mission requirements. Her first training flights focused on basic aircrew procedures, communication protocols, emergency responses, and coordination with pilots and other crew members. Maya's aviation background helped her understand flight operations from the pilot's perspective, making her more effective at anticipating needs and providing appropriate support. Flight instructor Master Sergeant Patricia Sky Johnson observed Maya's performance during several training flights and noted her exceptional situational awareness and communication skills. Chun, you have an intuitive understanding of flight operations that most loadmasters take years to develop. Your ability to anticipate problems and coordinate solutions will make you valuable in complex mission environments. Maya's final phase of Loadmaster training focused on specialized mission scenarios that combined all the skills she had developed. These exercises included humanitarian aid delivery, aeromedical evacuation, special operations support, and combat search and rescue. Each mission type required different configurations, procedures, and coordination approaches. The humanitarian aid exercise proved particularly meaningful to Maya. The scenario involved delivering medical supplies and emergency equipment to a simulated disaster area, with requirements for rapid unloading and coordination with ground relief teams. Maya's technical knowledge and organizational skills enabled her to develop efficient procedures that maximize delivery effectiveness while maintaining safety standards. Maya's performance during the specialized mission training earned recognition from the instructional staff and recommendations for advanced assignment opportunities. Her combination of technical expertise, problem-solving abilities, and mission focus made her an ideal candidate for complex operational roles that required exceptional aircrew performance. The final evaluation at Loadmaster School reflected Maya's comprehensive mastery of aircrew operations. Her academic scores ranked first in her class. Her practical exercise performance demonstrated professional-level competence, and her leadership potential earned recommendations for accelerated promotion opportunities. More importantly, she had developed confidence in her ability to contribute effectively to challenging missions. Maya's assignment preferences reflected her interests in life-saving operations and technical challenges. She requested assignments to units that specialized in aeromedical evacuation, combat search and rescue, or special operations support. These missions would utilize her technical background and provide opportunities to make direct contributions to life-saving operations. The assignment process revealed opportunities that Maya hadn't anticipated when she first entered Loadmaster training. Several specialized units had requested aircrew members with her combination of technical expertise and exceptional performance records. The options included assignments to rescue squadrons, special operations units, and aeromedical evacuation teams. Maya's selection for assignment to the 38th Rescue Squadron at Moody Air Force Base in Georgia represented recognition of her exceptional potential and alignment with her mission interests. The rescue squadron specialized in combat search and rescue operations, humanitarian missions, and personnel recovery under extreme conditions. The assignment would provide opportunities to utilize every skill she had developed while contributing to missions that saved lives. As Maya prepared to leave Little Rock Air Force Base, she reflected on the transformation she had experienced during Loadmaster training. The technical knowledge, operational skills, and confidence she had developed exceeded anything she had imagined when she first reluctantly accepted aircrew assignment. She was beginning to understand that her unique combination of capabilities might be more valuable in aircrew roles than in traditional pilot positions. The business card from Captain Rodriguez remained in Maya's wallet, but its significance had evolved further. Maya was learning that saving people from the sky could take many forms, and that aircrew members often had more direct involvement in life-saving operations than pilots. Her assignment to a rescue squadron would provide opportunities to fulfill her original mission commitment in ways that pilot training might not have offered. Staff Sergeant Maya Chen's arrival at Moody Air Force Base in Georgia felt like stepping into a different universe from the structured training environments she had experienced. The 38th Rescue Squadron operated with an intensity and urgency that reflected their real-world mission of saving lives under the most dangerous conditions imaginable. The base buzzed with constant activity as HHOG Pave Hawk helicopters and HC-13 OPN King aircraft launched on training missions, actual rescues, and humanitarian operations across the southeastern United States and beyond. Maya's first week involved orientation briefings that opened her eyes to the scope and complexity of rescue operations. The 38th Rescue Squadron didn't just perform combat search and rescue. They conducted civilian medical evacuations, disaster relief operations, humanitarian missions in remote locations, and personnel recovery in hostile environments. Each mission type required different equipment configurations, coordination procedures, and specialized skills that went far beyond standard Loadmaster training. Master Sergeant Thomas Lifeline Rodriguez, the squadron's senior Loadmaster, conducted Maya's initial briefing with the matter-of-fact intensity that characterized all rescue personnel. Rodriguez was a 15-year veteran who had participated in hundreds of rescue missions. from Hurricane Katrina relief operations to combat rescues in Afghanistan. His weathered hands and quiet confidence spoke of experience that couldn't be taught in any classroom. Chen, everything you learned in Loadmaster School was preparation for what we do here, Rodriguez explained as they walked through the squadron's operations center. In rescue operations, there are no routine missions. Every call involves someone whose life depends on our ability to adapt, improvise, and execute under pressure. Your technical background and problem-solving abilities are exactly what we need for the complex missions we're getting. Maya absorbed the briefing eagerly, but she also felt the weight of responsibility settling over her. The wall displays showed photographs of successful rescues, helicopter crews extracting injured climbers from mountainous terrain, medical evacuation flights saving critically injured patients, and humanitarian missions delivering life-saving supplies to disaster areas. Each image represented real people whose survival had depended on the skills and dedication of rescue aircrew. The squadron's mission planning center revealed the complexity of modern rescue operations. Multiple computer displays showed weather patterns, terrain features, aircraft positions, and communication networks that enabled coordination between rescue teams, medical facilities, and command centers. Maya's technical background helped her understand the systems, but the scale of coordination required for successful missions was overwhelming. Captain Michael Guardian Thompson, the squadron's operations officer, noticed Maya studying the mission planning displays with obvious fascination. Captain Thompson was a pilot who had transitioned to operations planning after flying rescue missions for 8 years. His perspective on aircrew effectiveness would prove influential in Maya's development as a rescue loadmaster. Sergeant Chen, I've reviewed your training records and spoken with your instructors at Little Rock. Your combination of technical expertise and analytical thinking is exactly what we need for our most challenging missions, Captain Thompson explained. We're seeing increasingly complex rescue scenarios that require aircrew members who can think beyond standard procedures and develop innovative solutions. Maya's response reflected her growing confidence in her aircrew capabilities. Sir, I'm particularly interested in missions that combine technical challenges with life-saving operations. My background in aviation systems and emergency procedures should be valuable in rescue environments where equipment reliability and crew coordination are critical. Captain Thompson nodded approvingly. That's exactly the right mindset, Chen. We're going to start you with our most experienced crews, so you can observe how theoretical knowledge translates into operational effectiveness. Then we'll gradually increase your responsibilities as you demonstrate readiness for more complex missions. Maya's integration into the squadron began with observing actual rescue missions as a supernumerary crew member. Her first flight was a medical evacuation mission to transport a critically injured construction worker from a remote location in rural Alabama to a trauma center in Atlanta. The mission provided Maya with her first exposure to the coordination required between aircrew, medical personnel, and air traffic control systems. The HH-60G Pavehawk helicopter's interior was configured as a flying intensive care unit with sophisticated medical equipment, communication systems, and crew coordination procedures that impressed Maya with their complexity. Technical Sergeant Jennifer Medic Park, the experienced flight engineer on the crew, served as Maya's guide during the mission, explaining equipment functions and crew responsibilities. Shun, medical evacuation missions require constant attention to patient condition, aircraft systems, weather factors, and coordination with multiple agencies, Technical Sergeant Park explained as they prepared for takeoff. Your job as loadmaster is to ensure that everything else works perfectly so the medical crew can focus entirely on patient care. The flight demonstrated mission complexities that Maya's training had only touched upon. Weather conditions required constant monitoring and route adjustments. Communication with medical facilities demanded precise information about patient condition. and estimated arrival times. Aircraft configuration had to balance medical equipment requirements with weight and balance considerations that affected flight performance. Maya's technical background proved valuable during the mission when a minor electrical system malfunction threatened to compromise communication capabilities. Her understanding of aircraft electrical systems enabled her to quickly identify an alternative configuration that restored full communication while maintaining medical equipment operation. The crew's response to her problem-solving demonstrated the collaborative nature of rescue operations. Technical Sergeant Park commended Maya's performance after the mission. Most new loadmasters take months to develop the systems knowledge you demonstrated today. Your ability to quickly analyze problems and implement solutions will make you valuable on complex missions, where standard procedures don't cover every contingency. Maya's second training mission involved a more challenging scenario, a search and rescue operation for missing hikers in the Appalachian Mountains. The mission required coordination between multiple aircraft, ground search teams, and communication with civilian authorities. Maya observed how rescue operations demanded constant adaptation to changing circumstances and information. The search mission revealed another dimension of rescue operations that particularly interested Maya: the HH-60G's advanced navigation and communication systems enabled precise coordination with ground teams. But successful missions depended on aircrew members who could process information from multiple sources and make rapid decisions about search patterns and resource allocation. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, who served as the primary loadmaster for the search mission, demonstrated the level of situational awareness required for successful rescue operations. He monitored weather conditions, coordinated with ground teams, managed communication with multiple agencies, and maintained constant awareness of aircraft systems, all while providing guidance to Maya about crew responsibilities. Chen. Successful search and rescue depends on aircrew members who can maintain awareness of the big picture while handling detailed technical requirements. Rodriguez explained during a brief break in the search pattern. Your aviation background gives you advantages in understanding how all the pieces fit together. The search mission concluded successfully with the location and extraction of 2 missing hikers who had become lost in dense forest terrain. Maya observed the precision required for helicopter operations in confined spaces, the coordination needed between aircrew and rescue specialists, and the satisfaction that came from saving lives through professional competence and dedication. Maya's training progression accelerated as she demonstrated exceptional performance and eagerness to take on additional responsibilities. Within 6 weeks, she was serving as primary loadmaster on routine missions and secondary loadmaster on more complex operations. Her technical knowledge and problem-solving abilities earned recognition from experienced crew members who typically required months to accept new personnel. The squadron's training program included specialized courses that weren't part of standard loadmaster education. Maya participated in advanced survival training, high-altitude physiology courses, and emergency medical training that enhanced her ability to contribute to rescue missions. Each training component added capabilities that made her more valuable in operational environments. Maya's performance during advanced survival training particularly impressed the instructional staff. The course included scenarios where aircrew members had to coordinate their own rescue after aircraft emergencies in remote locations. Maya's combination of technical knowledge, physical capabilities, and leadership skills made her exceptionally effective at managing complex survival situations. Master Sergeant Angela Survivor Davis, the chief survival instructor, noted Maya's performance during a particularly challenging exercise that simulated crew survival after an emergency landing in mountainous terrain. Chen, you have natural instincts for survival leadership that most people never develop. Your ability to assess situations, organize resources, and coordinate team activities would be valuable in real emergency situations. The survival training provided Maya with confidence that she could function effectively in the extreme conditions that rescue operations sometimes required. Her rock climbing background proved valuable for terrain navigation, while her technical knowledge helped her improvise communication and signaling equipment using aircraft components. Maya's first solo mission as primary loadmaster involved a humanitarian supply delivery to a remote medical clinic in the mountains of Tennessee. The mission required precise navigation to a makeshift landing zone, careful coordination of supply unloading, and communication with medical personnel who had limited radio equipment. The responsibility felt enormous, but Maya's preparation and training had developed her confidence in her technical capabilities. The humanitarian mission went flawlessly, demonstrating Maya's readiness for independent operations. Her pre-mission planning had anticipated potential complications. Her coordination with the pilots was seamless, and her interaction with the medical clinic staff was professional and efficient. The mission commander's post-flight evaluation noted Maya's exceptional preparation and execution. Captain Thompson reviewed Maya's performance reports after 2 months of operational flying and scheduled a meeting to discuss her career development. The conversation would prove pivotal in shaping Maya's understanding of her potential within the rescue community and the Air Force's recognition of her unique capabilities. Sergeant Chen, your performance has exceeded our expectations in every category, Captain Thompson began. Your technical expertise, problem-solving abilities, and mission focus have made you one of our most effective loadmasters, despite having the least operational experience. We'd like to discuss opportunities for advanced training and specialized assignments. Maya felt a surge of pride and excitement. Sir, I'm particularly interested in the most challenging missions, where technical knowledge and crew coordination are critical. I've been studying combat search and rescue operations and specialized medical evacuations that require exceptional aircrew performance. Captain Thompson smiled knowingly. That's exactly what we had in mind. Chun, there are several advanced training opportunities available for aircrew members with your capabilities. We're also seeing requests for loadmasters with technical backgrounds for specialized missions that standard training doesn't fully prepare people for. The conversation opened possibilities that Maya hadn't considered when she first arrived at Moody. Advanced training programs, specialized equipment certifications, and assignment opportunities to units that handled the military's most complex rescue missions. Her unique combination of aviation knowledge, technical expertise, and proven operational performance was creating opportunities that didn't exist for most aircrew members. Maya's integration into the rescue community also provided her with mentorship, relationships that enhanced her professional development. Experienced aircrew members shared insights about mission planning, crew coordination, and the psychological challenges of rescue operations that formal training couldn't provide. These relationships accelerated her development and broadened her understanding of aircrew effectiveness. Technical Sergeant David Eagle Eye Martinez, a veteran loadmaster with extensive combat experience, became a particularly influential mentor. Martinez had participated in some of the most challenging rescue missions of the past decade, and his perspectives on aircrew excellence shaped Maya's approach to continuous improvement. Shun, the difference between good aircrew and exceptional. Aircrew is the ability to see problems before they become emergencies and solutions before they become obvious, Martinez explained during one of their conversations. Your technical background gives you tools for that kind of anticipation, but experience teaches you how to use those tools effectively. Maya absorbed Martinez's guidance eagerly, understanding that operational experience was the missing piece in her professional development. Her technical knowledge and problem-solving abilities provided a foundation, but real expertise required exposure to the unexpected challenges that only operational missions could provide. As Maya's first year at Moody progressed, she established herself as one of the squadron's most capable and reliable aircrew members. Her mission performance was consistently excellent. Her technical knowledge continued to expand, and her reputation for innovative problem-solving made her a preferred crew member for challenging operations. She was beginning to understand that. Her career redirection from pilot training had led her to exactly where her capabilities could make the greatest difference. The emergency alert klaxon shattered the pre-dawn quiet at Moody Air Force Base at 0347 hours on a cold February morning. Maya bolted upright in her dormitory bunk, instantly alert, despite having fallen asleep less than 3 hours earlier after returning from a late-night training mission. The distinctive pattern of the alert signal indicated a real-world rescue mission, not a training exercise. Within seconds, her phone buzzed with the automated message, "All rescue crew report immediately. Real-world mission." Maya threw on her flight suit and sprinted toward the Squadron Operations Center, joining the stream of aircrew members converging from barracks, on-base housing, and off-base locations. The urgency in everyone's movement reflected the understanding that real rescue missions meant someone's life hung in the balance, and every minute of delay could mean the difference between success and tragedy. The operations center buzzed with controlled chaos as mission planners coordinated with multiple agencies to develop rescue parameters. Captain Thompson stood before a large display screen showing a map of the North Atlantic, with weather overlays indicating severe storm conditions and aircraft position markers showing the developing rescue scenario. The situation briefing would reveal the most challenging mission Maya had ever encountered. "Listen up, people," Captain Thompson announced as the assembled aircrew members filled the briefing room. At approximately 0215 hours, a civilian medical evacuation flight departed Bangor, Maine, bound for Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, with a critically injured patient requiring immediate specialized surgery. The aircraft is a Learjet 35 with a flight crew of 2, a medical crew of 3, and 1 patient. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Maya felt her stomach tighten as Captain Thompson continued the briefing. Medical evacuation flights operated under extreme time pressure, with patients whose survival depended on reaching advanced medical facilities within narrow time windows. Any emergency involving such flights represented a crisis where multiple lives were at risk. At 0312 hours, the aircraft reported mechanical problems and declared an emergency while flying through severe weather conditions approximately 200 miles southeast of our position over the Atlantic Ocean, Captain Thompson explained. The aircraft has lost primary electrical power, backup systems are failing, and they're flying on emergency battery power with limited communication capability. The mission parameters became clear as Captain Thompson outlined the rescue requirements. The Learjet was losing altitude and would be forced to ditch in the Atlantic Ocean within approximately 2 hours. The crew had reported their ability to maintain controlled flight long enough to reach a predetermined ditching location, but survival in the frigid February waters would be measured in minutes rather than hours. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, who would serve as the mission's senior loadmaster, stood to address the aircrew assignments. "This is going to be the most challenging rescue we've attempted this year. Water temperature is 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Sea conditions are rough with 12-foot swells. Visibility is less than 1 mile due to snow and fog, and we'll be operating at maximum range for our aircraft." Maya's heart raced as Rodriguez continued the briefing. "Chun, you're assigned as primary loadmaster for rescue. 1. Your technical knowledge of aircraft electrical systems may be critical. If we can establish communication with the ditched aircraft and provide guidance for emergency procedures, your small size will also be advantageous for maneuvering in the confined spaces of our rescue equipment configuration." The assignment represented both tremendous responsibility and recognition of Maya's capabilities. Serving as primary loadmaster on such a complex mission meant that aircraft configuration, equipment operation, and coordination with rescue specialists would be her responsibility. Any mistakes could compromise the entire rescue operation and cost multiple lives. The mission planning phase revealed the complexity of the rescue operation. Two HA-60G Pave Hawk helicopters would launch simultaneously, with HC-130PN King aircraft providing aerial refueling support and communication relay capabilities. The rescue would require precise timing, exceptional crew coordination, and execution under some of the most challenging conditions possible for helicopter operations. Maya's pre-flight preparation was the most thorough she had ever conducted. She reviewed every piece of rescue equipment, tested all communication systems, and verified aircraft configuration for water rescue operations. Her technical checklist included backup procedures for every system that could potentially fail during the mission, reflecting her understanding that successful rescues depended on preparation for contingencies that might never occur. Technical. Sergeant Park, who would serve as the mission's flight engineer, worked alongside Maya to configure the aircraft for optimal rescue performance. Chen, this mission is going to test everything we've trained for. The combination of weather conditions, water temperature, and multiple survivors means we'll need flawless execution of every procedure. Maya nodded grimly, understanding the stakes involved. Sergeant, I've reviewed all our water rescue protocols and prepared backup configurations for equipment malfunctions. My primary concern is maintaining communication with the survivors and coordinating with the second rescue aircraft if we encounter problems. The launch phase proceeded smoothly despite the challenging weather conditions. Maya's responsibilities as primary loadmaster began immediately as she coordinated with air traffic control, monitored aircraft systems, and managed communication with the HC-130 support aircraft. Her aviation background proved valuable as she anticipated pilot needs and provided seamless support for the complex navigation required to reach the rescue area. The flight to the rescue coordinates took 45 minutes through deteriorating weather conditions. Maya maintained constant communication with the Mission Command Center, providing updates on aircraft status, weather observations, and estimated arrival times. Her technical knowledge enabled her to quickly resolve minor system malfunctions that could have delayed the mission at critical moments. As Rescue 01 approached the ditching coordinates, the challenge of locating survivors in the rough seas became apparent. Visibility was severely limited by snow and fog, and the large swells made it difficult to distinguish between waves and potential survival equipment. Maya coordinated with the aircraft's advanced sensor systems to systematically search the designated area. Rescue 01, this is Rescue 02, crackled over the radio from the second helicopter. We have visual contact with survival rafts approximately 2 miles northeast of the planned ditching coordinates. Multiple survivors visible, but sea conditions are making approach extremely difficult. Maya immediately began coordinating the rescue response, communicating with both aircraft to optimize positioning and resource allocation. Her understanding of helicopter limitations and water rescue operations helped her develop an approach strategy that maximized the chances of successful survivor recovery while maintaining aircraft safety margins. The first challenge emerged as Rescue 02 attempted to establish a hover over the survival rafts. The severe weather conditions and rough seas made it impossible to maintain stable positioning for normal rescue procedures. The downdraft from the helicopter rotors was creating additional waves that threatened to swamp the survivors' rafts. Rescue 1. Rescue 02 is unable to establish stable hover for normal hoist operations, reported the crew of the second aircraft. Sea conditions and aircraft wake are too severe for standard rescue procedures. We need alternative approach strategies. Maya's technical knowledge and problem-solving abilities became critical as she analyzed the situation and developed innovative solutions. Her understanding of helicopter aerodynamics, water rescue procedures, and equipment capabilities enabled her to propose modifications to standard procedures that might work in the extreme conditions. Rescue 02 recommend attempting offset hover pattern to minimize rotor wash impact on survivors. Maya transmitted after quick consultation with her crew. Rescue 01 will position upwind to provide windbreak and communication relay. Suggest using extended hoist cable with modified approach angle to reduce aircraft wake effects. The modified rescue approach required precise coordination between both aircraft and represented a departure from standard procedures that could only be attempted by highly experienced crews. Maya's role as primary loadmaster for Rescue 01 included coordinating the complex positioning requirements while managing her own aircraft's rescue preparation. As Rescue 02 began implementing the modified rescue procedures, Maya prepared her aircraft for backup operations and potential equipment failure scenarios. Her technical expertise proved valuable when the extended hoist cable operation experienced mechanical problems that threatened to compromise the rescue attempt. Rescue 01, Rescue 02 is experiencing hoist motor overload due to extended cable length and sea conditions, reported the struggling aircraft. We may lose hoist capability if motor temperature continues increasing. Maya quickly analyzed the technical problem and identified a solution that drew on her comprehensive understanding of aircraft electrical systems. Rescue 02 recommend reducing hoist motor load by using manual backup system for final approach phase. Electrical system can handle reduced load while maintaining essential power for flight controls. The technical solution worked, enabling Rescue 02 to successfully recover 4 of the 6 survivors from the first raft. However, the effort had consumed significant fuel and placed stress on aircraft systems that limited their ability to continue rescue operations. The remaining survivors were in a second raft that had drifted further from the original position. Maya's aircraft now faced the challenge of recovering the final 2 survivors under conditions that were even more challenging than those faced by Rescue 02. Weather conditions had continued to deteriorate. Sea states were worsening, and fuel considerations were becoming critical for both rescue aircraft. The final phase of the rescue operation would test every skill Maya had developed and push her technical knowledge to its limits. The 2 remaining survivors included the critically injured patient whose medical evacuation had initiated the entire emergency. Time was running out for both the rescue operation and the patient's survival. As Rescue 01 maneuvered toward the second raft, Maya realized that standard rescue procedures would not work in the extreme conditions they were facing. The survivor who needed immediate medical attention was unconscious and could not assist in the rescue process. The medical crew member with him was showing signs of hypothermia that compromised his ability to coordinate rescue efforts. Maya's small size and technical expertise would prove critical in developing an unconventional rescue approach that could succeed where standard procedures had failed. The solution would require her to take personal risks that went beyond normal loadmaster responsibilities, but the alternative was watching survivors die in the frigid Atlantic waters. The moment had arrived when Maya's unique combination of technical knowledge, problem-solving abilities, and physical characteristics would determine whether the rescue mission succeeded or failed. Everything she had learned about aircraft systems, rescue procedures, and crew coordination was about to be tested under the most extreme conditions possible. As her aircraft approached the final survivors, Maya prepared to implement a rescue plan that would either save 2 lives or put the entire crew at risk. The decision she was about to make would define her career and prove whether her journey from rejected pilot candidate to rescue specialist had prepared her for the moment when everything depended on her capabilities. Maya stared down at the orange survival raft bobbing violently in the churning Atlantic waters, her mind racing through calculations that would determine whether 2 people lived or died in the next few minutes. The unconscious patient strapped to a makeshift stretcher. Inside the raft was the same critically injured person whose medical evacuation had started this entire emergency. Beside him, the hypothermic medical crew member was barely conscious. His movements sluggish and uncoordinated from prolonged exposure to the brutal cold. The standard rescue hoist procedures that had worked for Rescue 02's earlier recoveries were impossible in these conditions. The raft was being thrown around by 12-foot swells like a cork in a washing machine, making it impossible to maintain the stable positioning required for normal hoist operations. Worse, the unconscious patient couldn't assist in his own rescue, and the hypothermic crew member lacked the strength to properly secure rescue equipment. Rescue 01, we're running out of options, announced Captain Sarah Phoenix Martinez, the aircraft commander over the internal communication system. Standard hoist procedures won't work with an unconscious patient in these sea conditions. The basket keeps slamming into the raft, and we can't get stable enough positioning to safely extract both survivors. Maya studied the situation through the aircraft's side door, her technical mind analyzing every variable that affected the rescue attempt. Wind speed, rotor wash effects, cable dynamics, raft stability, survivor condition, equipment limitations, dozens of factors that had to be perfectly coordinated for a successful rescue. The solution that emerged in her mind was so unconventional that it violated every standard safety protocol she had learned. "Captain, I have an idea, but it's going to require deviating from standard procedures," Maya announced, her voice steady. Despite the magnitude of what she was proposing, my size and technical knowledge might enable an approach that larger crew members couldn't attempt. Technical Sergeant Park looked at Maya with concern. "Chun, whatever you're thinking, remember that we can't risk losing crew members in an attempt to save survivors. The risk-benefit calculation has to make sense." Maya understood the concern, but she also understood that the unconscious patient would die if they couldn't extract him within the next few minutes. The medical crew member had radioed earlier that the patient was experiencing internal bleeding. That required immediate surgical intervention. Every moment of delay reduced the chances of survival. "Here's what I'm thinking," Maya explained, her voice gaining confidence as she articulated the plan. "Instead of trying to hoist the survivors up to us, I go down to the raft and personally coordinate the rescue from water level. My small size means I can work inside the confined space of the raft, and my technical knowledge will help me properly secure the unconscious patient for extraction." Captain Martinez immediately understood both the potential and the danger of Maya's proposal. "Chun, that's an incredibly risky approach. If something goes wrong with the hoist system while you're in the water, we could lose you along with the survivors. The sea conditions are too rough for normal water rescue protocols." Maya had anticipated this objection and had already analyzed the technical solutions. "Captain, I've been studying our emergency backup procedures. If I go down on the rescue cable with full survival gear, I can establish direct communication with our aircraft through the cable-integrated communication system. My aviation background will help me coordinate hoist operations from below while managing survivor preparation." The plan was audacious and dangerous, but it addressed the fundamental problem that had made standard rescue procedures impossible. By putting a technically trained crew member directly in the rescue environment, they could achieve the precise coordination required for extracting an unconscious patient under extreme conditions. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, monitoring the conversation from the HC-130 command aircraft, added his perspective over the radio. "Rescue 01, Chun's plan has merit, but it requires perfect execution of procedures we've never attempted under these conditions. The risk level is enormous, but so is the certainty that standard approaches won't work." Maya checked her survival equipment one final time, ensuring that her immersion suit was properly sealed. Her emergency communication devices were functional, and her safety harnesses were correctly configured. The technical preparation she had learned during months of rescue training would be critical for surviving in the frigid Atlantic waters. "Captain, I'm ready to attempt the water-level rescue coordination," Maya announced. "My survival gear is configured for extended water exposure. I have backup communication systems, and I've reviewed all emergency procedures for cable-assisted water operations." Captain Martinez made the command decision that would either save 2 lives or potentially cost 3. "Chen, you are authorized to attempt water-level rescue coordination. All crew members, this is an emergency deviation from standard procedures. Maximum attention to safety protocols and continuous communication monitoring." Maya clipped onto the rescue cable and positioned herself at the aircraft's side door. The view down to the churning waters was terrifying. 12-foot swells, near-freezing temperature, and survival conditions that would kill an unprotected person within minutes. But she also saw 2 people whose lives depended on her ability to execute a rescue plan that no one had ever attempted under these conditions. The descent to water level took only seconds, but it felt like an eternity as Maya dropped through. The rotor wash and spray toward the violently pitching survival raft. Her small size and light weight made her easier to control on the cable, but the conditions were still extreme beyond anything she had experienced during training. Maya's feet touched the raft's inflated sides, just as a large swell lifted the entire structure, nearly 15 feet. Her survival training and rock climbing experience proved crucial as she maintained her balance and quickly secured herself to the raft's safety lines. The hypothermic medical crew member looked at her with confusion and relief. "I'm Staff Sergeant Chen from the rescue aircraft," Maya shouted over the wind and waves. "I'm here to coordinate your extraction. What's the patient's current condition?" The medical crew member, identifying himself as paramedic James Wilson, struggled to respond coherently. "Patient has internal injuries from the aircraft impact. Losing consciousness due to blood loss. Need immediate surgical intervention, or he won't survive another hour." Maya quickly assessed the situation inside the cramped raft. The unconscious patient was secured to a makeshift stretcher, but the positioning and restraints weren't suitable for hoist extraction. Her technical knowledge of rescue equipment and understanding of aircraft systems would be essential for modifying the setup to enable safe extraction. Working in the confined space of the pitching raft, Maya began reconfiguring the patient's restraint system using rescue equipment that she had brought down on the cable. Her small size allowed her to maneuver around the patient and access attachment points that larger rescue personnel couldn't have reached in the cramped conditions. "Rescue 01, this is Chen on water level," Maya transmitted through her cable-integrated communication system. "Patient is secured for extraction, but I need to modify the hoist approach to accommodate the sea conditions and patient's medical requirements. Recommend using dual-point attachment system to prevent rotation during extraction." The technical solution Maya implemented drew on her comprehensive understanding of aircraft systems, rescue equipment capabilities, and the physics of cable operations in rough seas. The modified extraction system would provide stability during the hoist operation, while protecting the unconscious patient from additional injuries. Captain Martinez coordinated the aircraft positioning for the modified extraction approach. "Chen, we're establishing hover position for dual-point extraction. Weather conditions are continuing to deteriorate, so we need to execute this quickly and precisely." Maya secured the unconscious patient to the modified extraction system, ensuring that all safety systems were properly configured and that medical monitoring equipment would continue functioning during the hoist operation. Her attention to technical details was critical for preventing equipment failures that could compromise the rescue. The extraction of the unconscious patient required perfect coordination between Maya's water level management, the aircraft's hoist operator, and the flight crew's positioning control. Maya's role was to ensure smooth transitions as the patient was lifted from the raft. through the turbulent air above the waves, and into the aircraft's cabin. Rescue 01. Patient is ready for extraction, Maya reported. All systems configured and tested. Beginning hoist sequence on your command. The patient extraction proceeded flawlessly, demonstrating the effectiveness of Maya's unconventional approach to the rescue problem. Her technical modifications and water-level coordination enabled a smooth hoist operation that wouldn't have been possible using standard procedures. With the critical patient safely aboard the aircraft, Maya turned her attention to extracting paramedic Wilson, whose hypothermia was becoming increasingly severe. The second extraction would be simpler since Wilson could assist in his own rescue, but his deteriorating condition required rapid completion of the operation. Maya secured Wilson to the rescue equipment and coordinated his extraction with the same precision she had used for the unconscious patient. Her continued presence in the water provided the direct coordination that made complex rescue operations possible under extreme conditions. Rescue 01, second survivor is ready for extraction, Maya transmitted. All systems configured for standard hoist procedures. Paramedic Wilson is conscious and able to assist in his own rescue. Wilson's extraction went smoothly, leaving Maya alone in the raft as the final person to be recovered from the water. Her own rescue would be the most straightforward since she was fully conscious, properly equipped, and technically knowledgeable about rescue procedures. Maya prepared herself for extraction, ensuring that all rescue equipment was properly secured and that the raft was configured for safe abandonment. Her survival training had prepared her for this moment, but the actual experience of being hoisted from rough seas in extreme weather conditions was unlike anything she had encountered. The ascent to the aircraft felt endless as Maya was lifted through the rotor wash and spray, buffeted by winds and waves that threatened to slam her into the aircraft's hull. Her small size and light weight were advantages during the hoist operation, making her easier to control and less likely to cause equipment overload. Maya's feet touched the aircraft's floor after what felt like hours but had actually been only minutes. Technical Sergeant Park and the other crew members immediately began warming procedures for Maya's hypothermia prevention while she reported on the survivors' conditions and the rescue equipment status. Both survivors are aboard and receiving medical attention, Maya reported to Captain Martinez. The unconscious patient needs immediate transport to surgical facilities. Paramedic Wilson is responding well to warming procedures. All rescue equipment is secured and accounted for. The flight back to the nearest medical facility was a race against time for the critically injured patient. Maya's responsibilities as loadmaster included coordinating with medical personnel at the receiving hospital, managing aircraft systems for optimal flight performance, and monitoring the survivors' conditions throughout the transport phase. Maya's technical knowledge proved valuable during the medical transport as she coordinated aircraft environmental systems to optimize conditions for patient care. Her understanding of pressurization, heating, and electrical systems enabled her to provide stable conditions that supported the medical team's efforts. The landing at the receiving medical facility was coordinated with precision that reflected the urgency of the patient's condition. Maya managed the aircraft configuration for rapid patient transfer while ensuring that all rescue equipment was properly secured and that aircraft systems remained operational for immediate departure if needed. As the medical team took custody of both survivors, Maya felt a profound sense of accomplishment combined with exhaustion from the most demanding mission of her career. The unconventional rescue approach she had implemented had succeeded in saving 2 lives under conditions where standard procedures would have failed. Captain Martinez approached Maya as the aircraft was being prepared for return flight to Moody Air Force Base. "Chun, that was the most exceptional display of technical innovation and personal courage I've witnessed in 15 years of rescue operations. Your ability to develop and execute an unconventional solution under extreme pressure saved 2 lives," Today, Maya's response reflected her growing understanding of her role in the rescue community and her unique contributions to mission success. Captain, everything we've trained for was preparation for moments like this. The technical knowledge, problem-solving skills, and crew coordination capabilities we develop are only valuable when we can apply them to save lives. A return flight to Moody Air Force Base provided time for Maya to reflect on the mission and its implications for her career development. She had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded standard loadmaster requirements and had proven her ability to innovate under pressure in ways that made the difference between mission success and failure. 6 months after the Atlantic rescue, Maya stood before a packed auditorium at the Pentagon, addressing senior military leaders about the new Chen Protocol, revolutionary rescue procedures that had emerged from her innovative water-level coordination techniques. The same officers who had once rejected her for being too small now sought her expertise on integrating unconventional approaches into standard military operations. The Atlantic rescue had saved more than 2 lives. It had transformed how the Air Force approached rescue operations in extreme conditions. Maya's technical innovations were being taught at rescue schools worldwide, and her story had inspired policy changes that evaluated personnel based on demonstrated capabilities rather than rigid physical requirements. Captain Rodriguez's worn business card, now framed on Maya's desk, bore new significance. Maya had indeed learned to save people from the sky, but in ways neither she nor Captain Rodriguez had ever imagined. Her limitation had become her greatest strength, enabling rescues that larger crew members couldn't perform. Standing at the podium, Maya looked out at faces that included young cadets whose dreams had been limited by traditional standards. "The most important lesson I've learned," she concluded, "is that your greatest perceived weakness might be exactly what the world needs most. The question isn't whether you fit existing requirements, it's whether you'll be ready when you're unique." Moment arrives. The standing ovation that followed represented more than recognition of Maya's heroism. It symbolized the military's evolving understanding that true capability transcended conventional measurements. What limitation in your life might actually be your secret superpower waiting for the right moment? Share your story in the comments below. Your journey could inspire someone else to see their challenges differently. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories about turning obstacles into opportunities, and hit that notification bell so you never miss these amazing tales of human resilience and triumph.